Okay, gang. So welcome back to week one of New to Customer Success. We're in round two. We've just hit, a new calendar month, so we're starting over from scratch. Week one is stack alignment and customer detail part one. Okay. So without further ado, life cyclers, let's get life cycle. So here we are with the stack alignment screen. So how do we make sense of this, right? How do we get our services and our products to align with our customers and our opportunities? So we're going to start here at the CS account settings and stack management. Okay, so this is where we're going to edit our stack manager and create our products and our services, right? So from left to right on the screen, we have our service column, which is where all of your given services will fall. Then the tags that you can put on those services, as an example, standard, basic, premium, those type things, right? So that you can delineate what levels of service you offer to your customers. Then we've got a usage column here that tells you, how many customers this, service is applied to, right? And then what the opportunity amount is, and then the products column. So the products column shows us what all the products are within that given service, but specifically it highlights in that little drop down there what the preferred products within this service are. Okay, and then again we also have a preferred column that shows us what those preferred products are. So all of your services here are created by you. Okay, and as an example here, I'm just going to say let's create a backup, which we already have one. I'm just going to say backup demo. Sorry, backup. It's the backup for the backup, and then we will tag this as basic, standard, and premium. Okay, and then we'll say Dado. Whoops, not Datu, Dado. And then we'll add what, like Altera, right? And then we'll just check this preferred option. So now when I save this, so it's going to give me that backup service here, this backup demo. Okay, we can see the tags that we added, the basic, standard, and premium tags, if there are any customers applied. Okay, and then what those preferred products are. So in this case, I just tagged Dado as the preferred product. All right, so I'm going to delete this one just so you guys can see how to actually do the setup on your stack manager. And then if you need to add these tags, okay, you can just come to this drop down here and then select tags. And this is where you can add or edit your existing tags, right? Just to show you what that looks like. Okay, so I created that test tag. That's a terrible color. How did we end up there? There we go. That's still kind of a terrible color. It's very bright and hurtful to the eyes. So once we have our stack manager set up, I'm just going to go back here again just to reiterate. We can also filter by keywords like firewall or data or whatever here in this column, and then over here we can actually filter by tags. So if you just wanted to see all of the products that you offer that have the basic tag, then you can just say, okay, just show me all basics, or show me minimum requirements too, right? So you can filter by tags to help you find services that you're looking for, and that might be helpful just in case you've added a product to your library, right? So then you need to come in here and edit this. Maybe you need to remove a product, add a product, whatever. So that's where your vendors go within the service. So that is our stack manager. Once we have our stack manager set up, then when we go back to the stack alignment screen, things start to make a little bit more sense. We've got our products, our services, we have, our customers, but we're still not done, right? Because we don't know where these dollar amounts are coming from. We don't know what any of these colors mean. So in order to Once we have Stack Manager set up, now we need to actually make this chart and this graph make sense. So that's going to be done under the customer detail screen. Okay. And then we're going to go to the stack alignment in the dropdown. So stack alignment is where you're actually going to manually set up the stack that you have for your given customer, right? So in this case, we're in creative designs. Okay. So we've got our services off to the left, and that's going to show any and all services that you've created in that stack manager. Okay. And then based on what the customer has, you're going to come in here and you're going to say whether or not it's applicable. And I'm going to cover that in a second. What product they're currently on. So in firewall, this customer is currently on Fortinet, but as an opportunity, we'd prefer them to be on Barracuda. So that's like our step up, right, from say standard to premium. So we want to get them on Barracuda. Therefore, there's an opportunity there, right? And then we're going to say that they're actually partially aligned because we know they have a product, all right? And then we're also going to not include the agreement, because if we do, then it's automatically going to pull the MRR from the contract value to determine how much we're making off of the client, but then we're going to lose that opportunity. And since we know there's an opportunity, we're going to put an MRR value in here. And in this case, this 750 MRR opportunity is not the total MRR opportunity, but it's the difference between what you're currently charging for your Fortinet product versus your Barracuda product, right? So we know that there's a 750 net difference between Fortinet and Barracuda. So that is actually the opportunity that you're going to put in there, right, for MRR. Now, in the case of NRR, this is non-recurring revenue. So this might be like install or, going out on site, performing some type of a service to help get the product and everything set up. So in this case, since we're upgrading them, we're not going to actually put an NRR in there. We're just going to say, okay, here's the difference on the MRR. And then that's what's going to be calculated in this value right here at the top. Okay, so MRR opportunity, right? Actually, let me go over the top here. So in these top tiles here, okay, for customer detail, we've got our segment tile, our health tile. Sorry, guys, that was my dog in the background. Our effort tile, which tells us, how much effort we're putting in for this customer. Health is obviously, the overall estimated health for the customer in your, opinion based on where you're at with your relationship and what the services are doing for them and so on and so forth. Then we've got our MRR, which is actually how much MRR we're making off of the client, right? So how much revenue we're bringing in, and that's pulling from their contracts, or it's manually entered on the customer segment screen, which we'll cover next week. And then data quality is actually pulling from the VCIO side of the house, and it's looking at all of those red, green, yellows on the assets and users and stuff, and just making sure that you have clean data, right? Then tech debt is looking at the replacement cost of all of those devices and adding those up and telling us, what that tech debt is, right? Okay. Alignment is the percentage that they are aligned with your stack currently. And then MRR opportunities, obviously adding up these MRR fields here as we scroll through. Okay. So all of those are going to add up to that, 6122. So that's our full opportunity with this company. And then NRR opportunity being, non-reoccurring revenue. So this is, like I said, your one-offs, your installs and setups and things like that. And then we also have additional tiles here for number of tickets. And then we also have, you can actually see all of our CSAT integrations here in this particular case, but we have a CSAT integration. So whether you have SmileDAC, Kuhu, or SimpleSat, you can set that up. And then when you hover over these scores, it will actually break that down for you and show you how many, positive, negative, neutral responses and what the response rate is within the last 3 months with those dates and all of that good stuff. It just so happens that we have all 3 of our CSAT integrations set up here so that you can actually see what that looks like. So getting back to the stack alignment portion, we talked about, so we've got our services here, okay, then the product, then the opportunity being the preferred product within that service, how aligned they are, red being none, yellow being partially, and then green being fully aligned. Now, if we say agreement inclusion, okay, if we say agreement inclusion, what happens is we lose the ability to track that MRR opportunity if there is one. Okay, so this comes down to how comfortable are you with, where you are with the stack, right? If you're happy enough to track just what you're currently making from, say your basic offering here with Fortinet, fine. You don't need to, track an opportunity and just pull the MRR from the contract. If we uncheck this box, then that gives us the ability to manually track MRR opportunity. Okay. So that's what that agreement inclusion box does. And that pulls from the contracts and agreements that are pulled in from the VCIO side of the house. And I'll get into that in more detail here in a minute. Carrie, did you have a question? Sorry. You unmuted yourself, so I wasn't sure if you had a question or not, Carrie. Okay, we don't. We're going to move on. So again, agreement inclusion is pulling from the contracts and agreements that you've imported in from your PSA tool on the VCIO side of the house. Okay. Now, this applicable button here, whether or not the service is applicable determines if it counts against your stack. Now, we can see all of these are actually grayed out for me, and I can't unselect these to make them not applicable, right? So why is that? I just want to show you quickly down here with like this client chat. So right now we know that they're 44% aligned. So if I come down here and I uncheck this box, this is actually going to remove the client chat from their stack alignment so that it's no longer counting against them because they don't have the service, right? So they jumped up from 44% to 47% because we removed that client chat. Okay. So if I recheck that, sorry, it was actually internal team chat. So if I recheck that, then it counts against the alignment and they're only 44% aligned because we want to sell them, that product. Okay. So that's what that means. Now, the reason why these boxes are grayed out is because if we go to the customer profile, okay, we can see when we go in here and we edit that the tags for those services are actually tagged at the company level. And what that does is that tells us that we offer this customer basic, standard, and premium services, right? So by tagging those at the customer level, we're just predetermining that, okay, everything we offer this customer, regardless of what the service is always going to be basic, standard, and premium in that, order, right? So by tagging at the customer level, we're simply just saying that's what we offer this customer, regardless of service. But when you do that, it does not allow you to remove any services that have these tags on them, right? So if it's a basic service, a standard service, or a premium service, we cannot remove it from the applicable box because we know we want to, put all of our basic, standard, and premium services towards their stack alignment. We want to get them on these services, okay? So that's why that applicable checkbox on the stack alignment screen is not uncheckable if we have these tags added to the company, okay? And then the other thing to note here is we talked about the agreement inclusion, okay? So down here, we can actually see at the company profile, sorry, I was there, based on contracts, right? So that monthly recurring revenue that we talked about in that tile is based on contracts. If you click on this contracts link, it actually opens up the contracts that you have on the VCIO side of the house that were either manually entered or imported from your PSA tool. Okay. So it's taking contract values from the contracts that you've imported and said, I want to include, and then it's adding that dollar amount up. And that's how we get that total MRR here up top. Okay. So it's not just, guessing, it's actually pulling the numbers from the contracts. And you can even see here on the right, we have this checkbox here in this column for exclude from CS MRR. So if it's excluded, it's not being counted against, it's not being counted towards, I should say, the MRR. Okay. Now, we actually have a setup for that. So if we go to CS account settings, we have CS app settings here. And this is where you can actually determine what your excluded vendors and excluded accounts are, okay? And a use case for this being that, we know that Office 365, for instance, and most print copy services are going to be little to no margin. So why track those items? Because it's basically, a a break-even game for you guys, right? So a lot of these accounts and vendors are going to be the cost of doing business, but not necessarily the ones that you want to be tracking for MRR purposes. Okay, so you can set that up at this level under CS app settings. You basically just drill into this edit, and then this is where you can add or remove excluded vendor contracts, as well as adding or removing those vendor accounts. Okay, so those are what are going to be excluded from contract inclusion. All right, so now if I go back to customer detail and drill into that customer profile again, we know that our MRR is based on the contracts that we've included. And then you can even hover over this included info button, and it will show you which vendors and which items from those agreements are being included. And then same thing with excluded, and it shows you the dollar amounts that are being excluded as well. Okay. Customer profile also gives you the ability to enter the number of employees and then add account groups as well. So these would be account groups that we've set up in the initial phase of creating our account managers, and then adding them to account groups, and then assigning the companies to account groups. We don't really get into that on these calls because it's a basic, part of the setup, and there's a, quick how-to doc on it, and it makes sense. Any of you guys who use a PSA tool know how to set up account managers. So, and then what the date acquired was, what the company revenue is, right? Which that's absurd. And then the date that the company was established, the year. Okay, so that's all of the stuff that fits into the company profile. But where stack alignment is concerned, we're looking at that monthly recurring revenue, what it's based on, if we're using contracts, because you can manually override this, okay, or you can include the contracts, right? And then what is included and what is excluded from that MRR number. All right. So that's everything in customer profile. Now, if I go back to stack alignment, we've edited a lot of this. We know, what products we're on, what our alignment is, and then what our MRR opportunity is for products where we have, additional opportunity. So now if I go to the stack alignment screen, now everything's going to start to make more sense because we've gone through the setup, and this should be fairly simple for us to figure out now, right? So one thing that I like to do, guys, is I like to swap my rows and columns. I think it makes more sense so that I can see my companies up top here. Sorry, my services on top, and then my companies down the left-hand side, right? So then as I scroll through, I can see what companies have firewall, what companies have backup, and so on and so forth. And now what it does is it breaks down those opportunities based on their alignment. So yellow obviously means partially aligned. When you see gray or white like this, that means that we have not defined it. So it's not included, and there's no, definition to how aligned or not aligned they are. So it's just going to be blank. Okay. And then, not aligned at all is red, right? Fully aligned is green. You could see a thing just like here where we've got this client chat. You could see an opportunity where we're fully aligned in green, but we actually have an opportunity value here. And that's because maybe they're fully aligned, but maybe you offer a different product, and we've got that, opportunity there to upsell them to another product. So you could be green and still have an opportunity, right? You could be partially aligned or not aligned at all and not have an opportunity if there's nothing, if the service is not applicable to them, or there's no upsell there, right? So you could be partially aligned or not aligned at all, but you don't have an upgrade opportunity. Therefore, you would be blank here and you wouldn't see an MRR value. All right. And it also could just be pulling from the agreement, right? So if we have that agreement inclusion box checked, but we know we're partially aligned, it's going to show partially aligned here, but there's not going to be a dollar value because we're actually, pulling the agreement value into the monthly reoccurring revenue. So this is simply looking at that opportunity field where we've overridden and said we want to manually put in, this is how much MRR opportunity we know we have for this particular service, and then how aligned they are, yellow partial, red not, and green fully aligned. Okay. And then off here to the left, next to the companies, we can see what the total MRR opportunity is for any given customer. So as I scroll through, we can see all of our customers and how aligned they are or not, and then what those dollar value opportunities are, right? And then we also have, this graph up here. I'm pretty sure. Is it a chart or a graph? I think this is a chart down here, and this is a graph. So the graph on top is what shows us what our top 10 opportunities by alignment are, right? So we can see service, so MFA. And then if I hover over that MFA, it shows me in dark blue what the MRR opportunity is. And this is full MRR opportunity for, all and MFA, not just, by the company. So it shows me the dollar value for all MFA opportunity. And then it also shows in light blue what the NRR opportunity is for that particular service. Okay, so everything that you had set on the stack alignment screen. So now web filtering shows me, I've got just over 4K as an MRR opportunity, and then just over 2K as an NRR opportunity. And then that last one there, as you hover over and you see that little key, shows you what the percentage of alignment is by service. So this makes up 23% of all, percentage of your alignment web filtering. Okay. So MRR opportunity dark blue, NRR opportunity light blue, and then percentage of alignment. And you can see your trends, right, with this little, line here, and it just measures where, everything is by service. Okay. And then you have the ability to switch this out to percentage of alignment instead of MRR opportunity. So if we do that, then it actually changes the chart so that we can see, what their percentage of alignment is. Color is going to maintain, but instead of showing you the MRR number, it's going to show you what percentage of alignment they are, right? Okay. You can also filter by tag. I'm going to switch this back. You can filter by tag and say, okay, just show me my standard services, right? So I've filtered by standard, and now I'm only looking at the products with standard tag, right? And then you can also filter by MRR opportunity versus MRR opportunity greater than 0. So we were only looking at those greater than 0, but if we were to do this, it's not going to make a difference in this case because I don't have anything set up to reflect $0 opportunities. It's either an opportunity or it's not, right? So so that's what that is. I just, everything is either included or not included in our demo environment. So there's really no difference between these two views for me. But, depending on how you guys have your stack alignment screen set up, there would be a difference between MRR opportunities greater than 0 and then, just filtering by MRR opportunities. Okay. And then we talked about this originally on week 1, but we're doing it again. So just to touch on these, you can filter by company. You can filter by company health, okay, which is looking at the customer segment screen. You can filter by account manager and then account group and segment, right? So as an example, I could say, show me all accounts under Alex's accounts. So that account group, right? And then I also want to see everyone in segment B, right? So that's going to drill down, and this always takes a minute when we're pulling from the segment tool. So now we're looking at all accounts in Alex's account group, and they're also in segment B on the customer segment chart, which we know means, high value, low effort, right? So so now we can see Hunter Lodge is the only company that actually, makes the cut in that particular instance. But that just, gives you an example of how you can drill down into these and segment, your reporting so you can see what you're actually trying to find, right? And then if I just clear these filters out, it's going to go back to what we originally saw. Okay. So that's pretty much everything, guys, with stack alignment and customer detail part 1. I just wanted to touch on everything in customer detail, but the important stuff where stack alignment is concerned is the actual stack alignment screen, and then customer profile, where you can determine whether contracts are included and what contracts are included or excluded, right? So all of that is what makes up your stack alignment tool and determines what opportunities you have. Questions? I know somebody's got questions. Let me check chat. There is no chat. There is no chat. No one has any questions. Comments? Concerns? Or as Mark likes to say, emotional outbursts? I feel like that's where Brian wants to chime in. Is on the emotional outbursts. So that's week one, guys. If you guys don't have questions, comments, concerns, or emotional outbursts, you're free to go. And I will make sure that week one recording definitely gets up on the YouTube channel for you guys. No more issues there, Owen, I promise. And then next week we will be covering customer segments and customer detail part two. So that's where we'll get into that chart and how everybody falls into the A, B, C, D categories and how to affect that. Okay. That's it, gang. I'll go ahead and stop the recording. Thanks for attending week one of New to Customer Success.